Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope you all are doing good. Well, I want to talk about a couple topics tonight that I've talked about a lot over the years, actually, and I kind of want to talk about them again because they're as relevant right now as they have been, and these are topics that are always going to be relevant, actually. And that is just the simple concept of why the 2A, why the Second Amendment, why does the United States have one, why do we have it right now? And then, like, does it even matter if we have one anymore, actually? Serious question. We're going to talk about that. Now, look, this is a battle of good versus evil. That's all it's ever been. That's literally all it ever will be. And I'm just getting sick and tired of watching so much evil around. And I'm sick and tired of seeing so much evil prevailing while so many, supposedly, we'll just say, good men do nothing. Now, I know there's lots of good people out there that are doing a lot, but is it enough? Also, the external and internal struggles. And you don't really think about that much, but it's a thing. And the external struggles are the ones that people think about the most, like the fact that there's this whole new world order, if you will. Look, the whole rest of the world seems like hates the United States. They especially hate our Second Amendment. And you can see that portrayed, obviously, in things like the UN Small Arms Ban Treaty, one that the previous administration had signed on to. And we've had many administrations sign on to it, saying the whole world that the UN can come in, the blue helmets, that they can come in and pick up every last gun. We've literally had people elected or instated or however the heck they get to the White House nowadays, because there's always many concerns and questions on how that even works. But we've literally had people that are supposedly the leaders of this country, the United States, sign on to let the rest of the world come and take our guns. Now, I'm going to say, luckily, for lack of a better word, the Senate has not ratified said treaty, but we've been on the brink. We've been this close for many years now to the whole world just marching right into the United States and taking our guns, while simultaneously the whole world's just marching right in, taking our country. We've been under constant foreign invasion, both illegal invasions as well as legal invasions. Look at these H-1Bs. As much as people love Trump that watch this channel, and look, he's been a lot better for the Second Amendment, I will say that. But he was bragging about how he wants 600,000 Chinese students coming into our country. Virtually limitless H-1Bs. These are people from other cultures. These are people that more and more don't want to assimilate. These are other countries where they don't have the Second Amendment, where gun ownership's not normal. Gun ownership by citizens, by the peasants, is considered to be taboo. It's a foreign concept to them. And quite frankly, we just keep getting watered down more and more by everybody throughout the world, invited in many cases, open borders in other cases. Look, you can't even have a country without borders. And for half of recent history, the last couple of decades, we've had wide open borders. So it shouldn't be a surprise that when the whole world is out to get your guns, literally, and your own government's been after you on the federal level, on the state level in so many instances. Look at the stuff that they've been proposing in Michigan recently, for example. And I have a couple more videos on those to come too. I'm not done giving you all the bad news on the crazy wild stuff that they're trying to shove down the old pipeline in Michigan. Now, that stuff's horrendous, and it should be of concern, and we need to remain vigilant and be ready for that at all times. But here's the kicker, dude. It's not just like external, meaning like all the other governments and countries and people of the world. It's not even always just external when it comes to like your state's gun control. Like, this is internal, but I mean, like, there's even stuff closer than that. And it's even within the community, meaning people who watch Second Amendment content, people who like gun videos, gun manufacturers from other countries. Like Glock comes to mind, for example. They come in our country, they become our country's most popular handgun, and they blatantly and openly called for gun control. Called for it, begged for it, said they would do everything they can to facilitate it. So you're getting attacked on all sides, but also within the beginning, from within in the internal part of things. And from the beginning, like I said, why even have the Second Amendment if nobody even cares about it anymore? Now, I care about it, and I know that you do too. But do people really, though? So, look, I'd like to welcome everybody to my live stream. People that are live right now in the chat. Nice to see you guys. Also, shout out to all of the replay viewers who watch this as a long form replay podcast. Now, please pardon me. I'm trying to be super polite. I know this doesn't apply to all of my loyal viewers, you guys that are my friends that get it. But unfortunately, there's just a lot of stupid people within our community, okay? There's a bunch of retards among us. So I'm going to say it again. Welcome on replay for everybody who's watching the replay of my weekly long form podcast / live stream. Now, as I'm recording right now, meaning if you're watching it later, you're watching what's called a replay. And if you look below the video on YouTube, it will say streamed 1 hour ago, 1 day ago, a week ago, maybe a month ago. Well, what does that mean? Well, let me explain this to you, since half y'all are too freaking retarded to understand what streamed means. It means that I do a live stream every Friday night, okay? This is a live show. I talk to people. I hang out with people. Some people actually do want to hear what I have to say the whole time. You know, there are still a few people left that aren't so shallow that they need all of their stuff in 30-minute YouTube shorts or TikToks. TikTok. Yeah, there goes the aptitude and attention span of most of America. And I think a lot of this is why we find ourselves in the shape we're in. So if you're watching this on replay, it's long form. You know, there's people in other communities. The conservative podcasting space, for example, does 2, 3, 4, 5 hour podcasts. This channel has done 3 in the last week short form videos. You know, getting to the point as quickly as I can, while of course giving my thoughts on things. But we live in a society now, and again, I'm not talking to all of my viewers that actually do enjoy what I do. But I'm talking to all the rest, because there's a bunch of whiny little female dogs. And this is why we find ourselves in the shape we're in. A bunch of whiny little whining people that come in and come after me hardcore. Last week with renewed vigor, saying, get to the point. Just tell us in 2 minutes. Why does this have to last 2 hours? Well, here's the thing. It doesn't need to last 2 hours. I could end the damn thing right now. Okay? I could say, thanks for watching and have a good one, little whining crybabies. Of course I could do that if I wanted to. But no, this is a place where we talk about deeper things. There's many, many topics, and this is the only channel in the Second Amendment space that we'll even dare talk about. I said there's a bunch of female dogs, a bunch of whiny you-know-whats. Well, there's also a bunch of you-know-whats that's another way to call a cat a kitten. And look, I agree with the First Amendment, but I try to keep this channel family friendly. There's a bunch of people out there that are like, we don't want to talk about the deep topics. We don't want to talk about why we find ourselves in the shape we're in. We don't want to talk about a solution. But there is a lot of people who want a place to hang out and gather together. And that's why this live stream will sometimes last an hour. Many times it lasts 2 hours. There's people having conversations, beautiful, awesome people right now in the live chat that I see that hang out with each other every Friday night here. They become good friends with each other. They have thoughtful and intelligent conversations with each other. So if you're new here, welcome. Good to have you here. If you're going to come in and whine and you're going to cry and complain that my live stream isn't a 30-second vertical short, you can venture forth and fornicate yourself. Look, you don't care about me. I don't care about you. That's great. Move on with yourself. So, look, there's not a lot of rules around this channel. I'm not your teacher, although this is 2A EDU. But guess what? Daddy's home, and sometimes it's time to be the man of the house. And this is my channel. So here's the rule on this channel. For anyone that can't handle how long my live streams are, they're as long as I want them to be. Do you understand that? Why? Because I said so. And here's the rules of my house, which is my channel. There's no whining. There's no complaining about how long the streams are. If you're a petulant child and you're going to whine, guess what? You're grounded. Daddy just put you in timeout and you're gone. So there you go. You won't be able to comment here anymore. Now, for the rest of you, I'm sorry. Now the adults can continue to talk. But that's what it is, man. You guys know what I'm saying? Dude, I give my heart and soul talking about topics that are many times too edgy for most people to break. You're not supposed to talk about a lot of this stuff. You're not supposed to talk about the facts that the white Christian male conservative is the most persecuted person in this dang country. And I know I can't be the only one that sits here and says, man, is there even a place for a person like me anymore in my country? When all I want is the original founding documents to be honored. You know, I look at the great writings inspired by God with divine providence, literally as it says, divine providence in the Declaration of Independence. I look to that as a source of encouragement of what a country should be. And I know there's a lot of you that do as well. I also look to the same great writings, the best writings there ever were, the Holy Bible, like the founding fathers did as well. But you're not supposed to talk about anything to do with Jesus or what this country was founded on, or you're going to lose subscribers. You're not allowed to talk about the fact that, look what, guess what? I'm a white person and I'm tired of being discriminated against in my own country. You're not supposed to talk about that either. But we do here. And you know, it's bad enough, isn't it, that we've got the other side constantly after us right now. They're trying to run us out of our own land. We've got a tyrannical government in so many instances where we can't even hardly afford to buy ammo and guns and things right now that we do want more of and we want to enjoy more of, but the government's jackboot is so tight down on our neck, it's hard to even afford groceries right now. You know, you work like a dog and you're taxed to no end. And you got people trying to ban BB guns in the state of Michigan, and it would even involve toy guns and Nerf guns. And you've got people trying to put this task force together in the state of Michigan to virtually ban and take everything. And like I started this stream, you've got the whole world after us. You've got the whole world after us, right? But then you've got your own. You've got the gun manufacturers. You've got the people right now, and I'm so worried about this generation. And when I said retarded, I was using it academically. I believe there's many, many people that are retarded running around nowadays. Is there something in the water? Is there something in the air? Yeah, probably, actually. There probably actually is. Because there's some things that you can't just talk about in 2 minutes. And maybe you could. And I think I put a YouTube short up on this video 2 weeks ago, even though I'm not a fan of them. I was just having fun out there messing around with a flashlight for a few minutes at night. I've done regular videos. I've done this. I've done that. I've been to my state's capital more times than anybody that I know. Now, there might be some people that have gone there more. But I'm just saying, besides people that actually work there, how many more times can you go there? I recently spoke with legislators, trying to help provide them encouragement and plans to strengthen the Second Amendment. I spoke at a public rally. There were 3 people there in the audience total. And I just wish that if people, because look, I want solutions. I want this world to be a better place. I want good to win. Getting sick and tired of evil prevailing so much, actually. That's actually really the only thing I'm sick and tired of, to be honest with you, because if we can figure that situation out, and there's always going to be evil here no matter what, but if we can just see good people winning a little more and being a little more exuberant and being a little stronger and a lot more good men manning up for once, that's the encouragement we need, and that's the encouragement I'm trying to offer all of you. But the other side's literally just trying to bulldoze us every second of every single day. And then you've got your own people coming after you saying your video's too long. You're this, you're that. And it's like, look, there's external struggles and there's internal struggles. And I was sitting there watching some content earlier this week outside of the Second Amendment community, because a lot of it's kind of like lowbrow stuff, in my opinion, and maybe I'm just the one that has different taste than most people, but it's just like the same stuff just gets rehashed over and over and over again. These guys are just putting out videos every day just so they can have a new video every day. At a certain point, that's what it starts to seem like. Now, we break news on this channel, sometimes during live streams and sometimes during regular videos, but half the time I get bored of a lot of the Second Amendment channels. And trust me, I've heard from people that don't like my long form content. Obviously, I know some people are bored of me, which is fine because I know a lot of people are not. But I was listening to a Tucker Carlson episode, actually, that he put out, and his guest was John Rich. Anybody heard of him? And I actually put a YouTube post up. I don't know if anyone sees those anymore or just nobody cares about the topic. But I put a post up about his newest music video he just put out. John Rich. It's called The Righteous Hunter. And him and Tucker had a thoughtful podcast talking about this. I had seen this whole topic talked about a lot recently on the Sean Ryan podcast as well. Now, these videos get millions of views, millions and millions, and they last like 2, 3, 4. I think when it comes to like the whole predator topic, Sean Ryan put out a video a few weeks back that was 5.5 hours long. And certain communities actually like that, but generally speaking, and I'm not talking about my core viewers, all of you that are in the chat right now, all of you that normally come in on replay, trust me, I promise I'm not talking about you, obviously. But the gun community can just never handle that. They can never handle anything in depth. And I posted a link, on my X page. I think it just got like 3 likes maybe. And again, I don't care how many likes I get. I'm just telling you like how little interest there is in these topics. And then I posted it on my YouTube post, and I think it got like 15 likes and maybe 2 or 3 comments. But what it was about is there's lots and lots of craziness going on right now in this country, in this world. But the United States is the #1 consumer of products that come from predators, people who are preying on our children, our young people. Now, I'm on YouTube, so I have to censor myself like crazy. But some of the nastiest, most perverted, sinful, evil stuff you could even think of. And it's literally crazy. And in this song that John Rich plays, I'd love to play it for you on this live stream, but I'm on YouTube, so I can't, okay? Because if I play anybody's music for even 10 seconds, you guys probably know what they'll do. They'll copyright me. They'll probably copyright me and strike me. They'll do all this stuff to the video, all this stuff to the channel. Even though I believe, although I don't know him personally, John Rich seems like a really good dude. A very strong, bold Christian man. Not this weak simp, the lesbian minister from the local Methodist church. Not that weak, simpy type of Christian. Not the lukewarm that God talks about spewing from his mouth Christian, but he seems like the real deal. And I know he would like me to play his video tonight for all of you, but you can't, because it's called the industrial complex. It's called the music industrial complex. And it's all this with YouTube, and it's all automated. But I think I can read the lyrics. So any of the YouTube people that are listening to this, or the YouTube AI algorithm that's listening, here's the context. I'm going to read some of the lyrics from John Rich's new song. Now, these are song lyrics that I'm reading. I think I'm still allowed to do that on here, but actually I have no idea. See, here's the crazy part. Well, all these gun people are complaining like a bunch of wild little, whiny little petulant 10-second attention span whiners about the length of my video last week. I'm dealing with YouTube censorship. I'm dealing with, it's like you have to dance around what you're even saying, and just the hopes that if I can just get like the abridged version of my message out, hopefully it's better than nothing at all. And no, that's not me trying to be weak. I'm actually just being very honest and candid with you. You're not allowed to say everything you want to say on here. Trust me, if I was allowed to, I'd say a lot more about a lot of things. And I'd say certain words you're not allowed to say. Oh, trust me. In private life, I have many words that if I spoke them even once on here, actually one of my favorite words that I say almost every day when I think about things like high crime and how dirty many parts of this country are and stuff. If I were to say it once, I'd be banished forever. But here we are. So I'm going to read a little bit of this song lyrics from John Rich. And this definitely ties in with the Second Amendment. And to me, if this isn't the reason why we have the Second Amendment, one of probably the top couple reasons why, then why the hell do we even have it? Why the hell do we even want it? So it starts off and says, evil runs around this town undercover, looking for a soul to take. But they better stay away from the righteous hunter, or hell is all they'll pay. Now, dude, this song just starts off so awesome. And if you guys want to listen to it, I literally shared the link to the music video on this channel. It's called Post. You can listen to it. Whoa. He's starting it off on a good tune, isn't he? Because so many men nowadays, they've gotten to where they're afraid of their own shadow. There's feminism. There's been this huge movement in this country. It's feminism. It's the gays. It's all of this. Making it where men can't be men anymore. It's actually considered politically incorrect, and in some places even worse than that, for a guy to man up and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Better stay away from the righteous hunter, or hell is all they'll pay. And I thought it was really cool seeing a big-time country singer, and we'll get to the Second Amendment parts of this in 1 second, actually having a pair and getting out there and being like, yeah, all you predators out there, preying on children, hunting down children, doing some of the most despicable, evil, sinful, nasty, abhorrent things you can think of. Yeah, you guys think you're the hunter. You're getting hunted down by us. And that's literally what this country was founded on. And I have all these pacifists that always come up to me when I talk about this. And they say stuff like, why do you need a gun? They'll say, as a fellow Christian, we don't need a gun. Give up all your guns. We're supposed to be pacifists. We're supposed to just sit back and let everything live and let live. Says your lesbian minister at your local whatever church. I say Methodist church because there's a Methodist church down the road from here where it used to be the red flame, you know what I mean, in the logo, and now it's a rainbow flag flame. But that wasn't good enough. Now it's the rainbow flag flame with the black and the brown in it. Yeah, back to that again. They don't like you unless you're some kind of gay freak, any color but white, any whatever but white. You're welcome. God loves everybody except for a straight white Christian conservative male. Have you guys noticed that? It's like, well, what the heck? We have Satanists in this country. We have cults in this country. We have cults that are literally dedicated to trying to prey on children and do some of the craziest stuff possible. And then you got a lot of people in these churches, not all churches, not all. And I hope there's many that reject this, but many churches even nowadays, supposedly Christian churches, condemning everybody, saying, oh, you can't say that. See, and they will talk about things like he who is without sin cast the first stone. And that's a very powerful verse. And that's very important for us to remember that, because none of us are perfect at all. But how can you sit there and claim to be a devout Christian in this case while literally being cool with everything that's antithetical to the Bible? Now, look, I know I have some viewers that don't believe in the Bible, okay? And I'm not here to try to convert you right this second. But hopefully you'll still appreciate the points I'm making. If the Bible is the Word of God, and it's your rock that you're going to build everything on, how can you just sit there and blatantly ignore half of it? You know, how come they always want to talk about the money and our Judeo-Christian values? Well, excuse me, but I'm not a Jew. And I know some of you are. And if you're a Jew, you're also not a Christian. But here's the deal with me. I'm not a Jew. How are these Judeo-Christian values when they're actually antithetical to themselves in so many ways? Why does the Talmud talk about the horrendous, terrible things that it wants to happen to Jesus? Yes, and it does involve boiling feces. You know, we've gotten to the point now where they're like, oh, Christian, Jew, same thing, whatever. No, it's actually not the same thing. And I understand with Judaism, it's complicated. There's an ethnic Jew, there's a religious Jew. But look, we're just not the same thing. And how can there be the lesbian minister at the church flying the rainbow flag when the Bible talks explicitly how sinful it is? Makes it very clear who a man's supposed to lie with and a woman's supposed to lie with. And that they're supposed to become one when they're married. You leave your father's house, you get married, you become one, you lay with each other, and you become one. It's real simple. But no, now we've gotten to the point where woman can lay with a woman, man can lay with a man. Judaism, Christianity, same thing. Muslims, well, they believe Jesus existed too. Oh, I'm sure they do. Well, here's the thing. The devil believes in God. And he trembles, actually. And you've got Dearborn, Michigan. You've got Dearbornistan. Everywhere you turn around, you're getting overrun by everybody. And here you are thinking, geez, oh, Pete, are there any men left in this dang country? The founding fathers, and this is why I'm bringing religion into it, and very specifically I'm bringing Christianity into it, because this was the pillars and the foundation of what the United States was founded on. Are there many things that have gotten corrupted in Christianity via churches, corrupt churches, false prophets, all of these things? Of course there are. I've literally done nothing but rip on that topic for the last 15 minutes here. So anyone out there that's like, dude, I believe in God, but I believe I've got issues with such and such church. Actually, I'm with you. That's what I'm talking about right now. But the principles are what's important. And trust me, a bunch of pacifist, weak men didn't found this country. And if we're going to be a bunch of pacifist, weak men, we're not going to keep this country any longer. We've almost lost all of it already. We really don't even have a Second Amendment anymore, although we're trying to get it back and we're trying to preserve the little grains of it that we have. And yes, we've gotten some big Supreme Court victories that all the quote liberal states, let's call them what they really are, socialist, communist, and Marxist, they're just trampling all over the Bruin decision. They're trampling all over the Heller decision. So you win a little bit, but then depending where you live, you might keep winning a little more, but you might actually lose more. Like in my home state of Michigan, we lost more of the Second Amendment in direct retaliation to Bruin. And so many people were so excited when that Supreme Court case was decided, and they said, dude, Bruin has been decided. It outlaws all gun control. And I'm like, yeah, it actually does, but try to say that to people in Michigan who are getting criminalized every day on the plethora of laws that were passed, not just in spite of Bruin, but in direct contradiction to Bruin. It's a classic, F you, I won't do what you told me. That's literally what these liberal legislators, governors, socialists, that's what they're saying right now. They're saying it to the Supreme Court. They're saying it to the Constitution. They're saying it to the Second Amendment. And most importantly, they're saying it to you. Because we, the people, are supposed to be the government of this United States. We, the people, meaning American people. I don't mean whoever swam the Rio Grande. I don't mean whoever came in on whatever. Look, we're under invasion from the whole world right now. Third worlders, whatevers. And oh, geez, imagine that. You bring in a bunch of people from a third world country, and our country starts going to the third world. Places where private gun ownership is not allowed at all. And they have tyrannical governments there. In many places in the world, it's hard to get something to eat every day. And they're not allowed to own guns. They're not allowed to fight back. The dictators just dictate to them, and they do what they're told. And they have no say. Because speaking of communism and Marxism, Chairman Mao of China, The revolutionary Mao said all political power comes from the barrel of a gun, and you know what? He was right. And in the meantime, they're trying to destroy everything in our country right now. There's all this evil out there. They're preying on our children. Sick, twisted people. Cults. This could only be of Satan. There's nothing other than that. That's literally what all this is. Just remember this. Good versus evil. And they're doing stuff that's sickening. It's nasty. And I hate what these people are doing. But 2AE to you. You're a Christian. You're not allowed to hate. Well, then read the Bible. Are you reading the same one I'm reading? The Bible has many instances where you're actually allowed to hate. I hate child predators. And they need to be met. They need to be met, my good people, with resistance, with force. And sure, we have the Second Amendment to fend off a tyrannical government. We have a Second Amendment to protect us from invaders, from foreign enemies. And we have the Second Amendment to keep our house safe, our neighbors safe. But we also have the Second Amendment to protect our children. And that's what this song's about. Evil runs around this town undercover. This is the John Rich song. Looking for a soul to take. But they better stay away from the righteous hunter, or hell is all they'll pay. Here's the chorus. Because I can see you around the corner. And I know you're coming. If you had any sense, you'd run. But you ain't got a clue what a daddy will do. Better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. You better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. And the song sounds so much better than me just reading it. We're just on YouTube where I'll get a copyright strike if I were to play it. But what the hell's going on here, fellas? What's going on, man? And I know a lot of you guys are up for the task, but as I often do, and I'm doing it right now, are these conversations you're having with people around your hometown? Why is it that we're in a country right now? Just think about this. And I'm asking for some answers if some of you guys have some insight. We have like 600 million guns in this country. That's a lot of guns. As we should, because we have a Second Amendment that protects our natural God-given right to keep and bear arms. Meanwhile, at the same time, we're the number one consumer of these sinful things, the consumers of this stuff that child predators obtain, put out. Whether it's physical acts, whether it's digital content. I have to be real careful how I'm wording things because of the website I'm on. We have the most guns. And look, I know a heck of a lot of good people. I really do. I'm seeing some really awesome people in the chat right here. Why is it that we have the most good people with guns in this country, but we also have the most predators doing unspeakable and unthinkable things to children at the highest rate in the whole world? Well, I think there's lots of reasons for it. And some of it's quite philosophical. We can go on to the breakdown of the family. We can go on that communism and socialism and many aspects of it were actually put in this country over 100 years ago. Our country's been in big trouble for the most part since the mid-1800s, but especially since 1913. So there's many reasons why, but I want to know, like right now, how's that even possible? I can tell you what, as a daddy to a teenage daughter, there's just certain things out there like that where there's just no second chance. It just ain't going to happen. And if you see where it's about to happen and she's in imminent danger, guess what? Daddy's going and he's getting his gun. Period. End of story. I like how John Rich puts this in this song because I'm not going to judge their soul. That's not for me. That's for the Father. There's only one good judge. But I'll tell you what. You better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. That's what the song says. And I hope a lot of men of this country will listen to this song and be vigilant and be at the ready. And these people need to know that they ain't safe nowhere when they're preying on our children. It's an interesting dynamic when a hunter is used to being the apex and they're hunting their prey, hunting their prey, hunting their prey, and then all of a sudden it comes right up on them. Whoa, I'm being hunted now. I'm the prey. I think that is the way to change the dynamics of all of this. He goes on with verse 2. It's a short little song. It's a powerful video. He says, they try to steal away our sons and daughters, shrouded in the shadow of night. But we fight with protection from the Heavenly Father, and we ain't scared to die. And that is an interesting concept. Let me ask you guys that. Are you scared to die? You don't need to literally answer me in text, but just think about that. And I'll be honest with you, in one aspect, no, I'm actually not. Because I believe when our life ends here on earth, it's just the beginning. And I'm trying my hardest to make sure I get there as best as I can. And it's real easy to get to heaven, but it's real hard to at the same time. You know what I mean? There's a very easy path that's outlined in the Bible, but the path is very narrow and very few find it. So yes, I am looking forward to the afterlife. I'm looking forward to heaven. Looking forward to being able to sit next to God, but at the same time, at the right hand of. But at the same time, I'm hoping and I'm trying because I'm not going to be my own judge. I don't get to give myself the verdict, but I'm trying to get a good one. But at the same time, so that's that, period. But on a separate note, like everyone wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to go now. I don't want to just die tomorrow. I'm trying to fight the good fight as long as I can. I want to finish helping with the upbringing of my daughter. I still want to be able to enjoy love with my beautiful wife, with my family, with my mother and my father and my friends that I have and people that actually care and that I care about. But when it comes to some kind of predator going after my little girl, no, I ain't afraid to die. That's something I would die for instantly. I wonder how many people think of that way in this country anymore. You know, we've got all of our guns. We've got our Second Amendment. But these people are just like, literally, this is insane. And you guys have seen the different movies. Everybody's talking about this topic. But the Second Amendment channels usually don't want to talk about it because, again, you're just supposed to put out like 5 to 7 minute videos. Out of the 5 to 7 minutes of the video, 4 to 6 minutes of it needs to be ad reads. And you just put out a video every day for the sake of putting a video out every day. And it's just like, whatever. But what's everybody so scared of in this country? Why are all the good men, and I'm not talking about you, just help me think of this on like a national, basis. Why are all the men, look, we have more guns than anybody does. There's tough guys all over the place. You should come to one of my hangouts and hang out with some of these boys in the chat, the boys I roll with. You should see some of the boys I roll with. There's some tough dudes out there still. And that's what gives me hope. I know a lot of you guys are on the same page with what I'm talking about. But as a whole, it's like, really? We're sitting there with our children getting preyed on record numbers? Abhorrent, reprehensible things? And it's actually getting worse every day, not better, while there keeps getting more and more good people armed with guns? That's right, Mateo. No one makes it out of this world alive. But we're trying to make the best of it while we're here, right? Look, sometimes it comes down to you just have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. And I don't know how this country just keeps falling for it. Over and over and over again. In fact, Rayman brings up a good topic. If you're afraid to die, you're probably afraid to live. And I agree, and that's why I'm enjoying this chat right now. Let me read a couple super chats here because you guys always add some good context as well. We have fun to learn. Channel member and a super chat. Thanks, man, and nice to see you tonight. He says, I guess if I appreciate no ad reads, a little extra, I also appreciate your content. Well, thanks, man. And you guys noticed I did no ad read tonight. And I do want to thank Fun to Learn, all my channel members, those of you who do leave super chats, Patreon supporters, local supporters. I have a Cash App down there in the description. So thank you for all of you, the many ways you help support, because here's the problem. You get big advertisers, they'll be like 2AE to you. You can't talk about some of these edgy topics, or we'll pull your ads. We'll pull your sponsorship. Dude, you guys know this, right? It keeps coming up randomly here and there, but I'd say probably at least 10%, if not even 25%, depends how nuanced you want to be, of the gun industry is somewhat anti-Second Amendment. Some of them are extremely anti-Second Amendment. It's literally crazy. You have all these people just coming after us, say, we want your guns. We want every gun, maybe in your home state, in your country, the UN, the whole world. And then you've even got much of the gun industry that's after the Second Amendment too. That's literally crazy, right? Bill Camperis, a longtime channel member and a generous $20 super chat. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you, dude. And he says, I, for one, appreciate what you do. F them. Well, thank you. And I do appreciate you guys indulging me earlier, letting me have that little rant. But it's like I just sit back quiet for so long. I mean, I'm not quiet. I'm very vocal on what I talk about on here. But it's just like, man, oh, man. You can ask Mateo. He's the one that has to take the trash out. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of like, I'd rather just have him be the bouncer, where you can just stand at the door and, kind of like, give people the old chuckaroo or the old sidewalk slam if he has to. But look, this channel is pretty low budget and we actually don't pay him a penny. So he gets stuck not only being the bouncer of the channel, right, Bill, but he has to take the trash out. You guys should have seen some of the comments that was rolling and just nasty stuff. There's still a few in the replay of last week's live stream. And we finally said, you know what? There's a new rule on this channel. No whiny little female dogs anymore. We need to be around more men. And look, shout out to the ladies that are watching. Ladies that are out there, don't act like a man. I love femininity. I don't like feminism, but we don't really have feminist women that watch this. So that's not really, trust me, all the feminists have unsubbed from this channel a long time ago. No, I love women. We love women. There's so many beautiful things about a woman, as long as they're not a feminist. Okay, that's the big problem, is all the feminists and gays. That's the problems we have. But so, besides the few women that watch this channel, no, we only want men watching this channel. Any of these petulant little children, oh, 2AE to you. My little mind can't wrap itself around actual deep concepts. Me little mind can't go more than 20 minutes. You guys knew what I was getting at earlier, right? I'm like, then whatever, dude. Just go over there, whatever. Do your thing. But we're not going to sit here and be people's punching bags. You know what I mean? So there you go. 2AE to you's now a tyrant. And I guess that's what people get. You end up with a tyrannical government. Now you've got a tyrant channel owner here. It's like, you know what? You're just not allowed to be a whiny little female dog on this channel anymore. So hopefully you guys, well, I know Fun to Learn, Bill, people like you guys know what's going on. It's just like, really, people? Like, go watch so-and-so's video. You'll enjoy their ad reads. You'll love their ad reads. Wild Times 6904, channel member. What's happening, Wild Times? How you doing, man? He says not going to be able to watch live, but excited for the replay. Well, I hope you enjoy it. It was a little bit of a barn burner right out of the gate, and if you can't hear me live, shout out on replay, man. And good to see you. I've hung out with Wild Times in real life. He's a cool dude, actually. You know what I'm saying? And then the song goes on to the chorus. This is this John Rich song, man. And I'm like, dude, this is like, this is the first time we've literally heard a song with this much balls, like, in a long time. And he's talking about guns. And so he goes back and he repeats the chorus again. He says, oh, and I can see around the corner, and I know you're coming. If you had any sense, you'd run. But you ain't got a clue what a daddy will do. Better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. You better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. And that's literally a song. I can't play it here because of YouTube's rules. Now, he also references how God looks at harming the little ones. And this comes from the book of Matthew. Matthew 18:6. Now, I enjoy different translations. I do really enjoy my American Patriots Bible because it's a really good edition because it has all kinds of things that literally talks about what I did at the beginning of this stream, the Word of God and the shaping of America. Because no doubt the fundamentals of this country were based on the Word of God, very specifically with our founding fathers, almost all of them. Almost all, I know, there's always the gotcha guy. But actually, to EDU, Thomas Jefferson was a deist. Yes. Almost all of them, Protestant Christians that started this country. Just a quick history lesson for everybody. Whether anybody likes it or not, this country was founded on the good book. This country was founded upon Christian values. Now, and this is where it gets complicated. And, oh, you're not supposed to talk about religion. Well, then how the heck? See, that's the problem. We can't talk about this country anymore. Look, I just got done bashing all kinds of things that I see that, in my opinion, are very, very displeasing to God that's going on with a lot of the modern Christian churches. I see, in my opinion, lots of money laundering and scams going on with lots of the mega churches. I've seen fake televangel. How do you say that? Televangelism on TV. There you go. I know big words, see? I've seen it where you can just tell this guy's a snake in the grass. You can just tell he's a money laundering scheme. Like, dude, I get it. I get it, guys. And that is part of what I'm talking about. There's lots and lots of problems with many of the Christian churches in this country. There's many pastors that only want to read from a few select little verses in here, but they don't want to read from some of the other ones. You ever notice that? Just live and let live. God loves everybody. Everything's the same. Just whatever. You can be as gay as you want. You can just do whatever you want, and it's totally fine. Well, I don't know what they're reading, but this is a... There's just different translations of it. And I like this one because it does give lots and lots of context. Now, there's King James, there's New King James, there's languages that I can't even read. But I'm going to read, this is from the New King James Version. Just because sometimes I like to read verses. I do like that Bible a lot for context. That's more of a New International Version. But sometimes I just like the words that are used because I like some of the old words. It kind of brings me back into the context in which it was written. So sometimes I like to read the King James, sometimes the New King James. But the problem with the King James Version is some of it's such archaic words, you don't even know what they're saying without looking up every other word. So sometimes this is just kind of a compromise so people can at least understand some of the words, right? Matthew 18:6, New King James Version. Verse 6, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Now just think about that. God doesn't talk about punishment. God thinks everything's okay for everybody to do everything. Says a lot of modern preachers actually nowadays. Says a lot of mothers to their child that's a boy that they have the best intentions, but really what they don't realize is we were already in like third wave feminism before a lot of people even realized it was a thing. There's a lot of moms out there with the best of intentions and a lot of them with the worst of intentions too. It just depends who your parent is. They've been feminizing their boys. They've been trying to turn them gay. They've been talking about how you always just have to sit back, turn the other cheek. That doesn't even mean what 99% of people think it means. I could go off in an hour just about that topic. That doesn't mean you just keep getting cuffed in the face. No, it has to do with, well, bluntly, there's a couple topics there, but one of them, just to put it very bluntly, has to do with which hand they would typically use the toilet with, okay? That's what this stuff has to do with. But it doesn't mean you just sit back and just let everyone run all over you and do whatever you want. It's not okay for people to be harming the little ones. And if it's a battle of good versus evil, and we know it is, and if we're in a country with the most guns in the world, but also the most child predators in the world, and the most abhorrent, evil, sick, nasty, disgusting things happening to children in the world, then how are these things both going on at once? And I talk to people about this topic sometimes in real life, and it shouldn't be a hard topic, but sometimes it always is. Well, you can't talk about religion too, Edie. You can't talk about politics. Look, I'm talking about the founding principles of what this country was founded on. All right? And I know a lot of people that are disenchanted with Christianity. It's because the way it's being put forth in a lot of churches, in a lot of the dogma that a lot of times in many ways gets in the way of actually reading the thing itself. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it was kind of inspiring to hear this song come out, and we're starting to hear a lot more good people out there that are really starting to want to become the predators that are going to start preying on the predators, the righteous hunter. Good people are going to start preying on and hunting down these bad predators, these terrible, evil people. And for the people that say, well, the Bible never says it wants anything bad to happen to anybody at all. Oh, really? Really? No, I believe God is on our side. If we have to use what might be considered otherwise violent means to protect the little ones, to protect our families, our communities, our parents, our hometown, our children, whatever it is, the more vulnerable they are, the more we need to stand up and protect ourselves, actually. And yeah, Satan, the devil was given lots of power over the earth. We see it all the time, clearly. But does that mean we're just going to sit back and just keep taking it and taking it and taking it? We need to fight back. We need to put on the armor of God, and we need to take up our sword, which our sword is the word of God. That's what it talks about in Ephesians. But I was talking to my 13-year-old daughter about this on the phone, and I was out salting and stuff. I've been out all night. It's 3 out of the last 6 days. It's snowing, it's salting. And sometimes, when you kind of get old, we're not getting any younger, are we? But you think about these new age kids, and it's like, man, do they even know what some of these words are? So I asked her, I said, do you know what a millstone is? And yeah, ain't that the truth? I just saw Mike McClune's super chat there. Ain't that the truth, Mike? What's happening, Mike McClune? I'm going to read you guys' comments in 1 second here, your chats. But I'm talking to my little girl. Let me tell you what. Any of these SOBs wants to try some type of predatory action against her, guess what? Daddy's got a gun, and he's going to use it in 2 seconds flat. I'm not afraid to die, and they better look out. And I hope that's how all of you are, for all of your little ones. But I'm talking to her about Matthew 8:16. Thank you, Paul Bennett. I just saw what you said out of the corner of my eye. I'm glad you liked the stream tonight. I was like, do you know what a millstone is? And I thought I was going to have to explain all of it. She's like, yeah. I'm like, in the big grain mill where there's this huge stone and it weighs like thousands of pounds in many instances and it grinds the wheat. She's like, yeah, Daddy, I know what a millstone is. I'm like, whoa, wow. My 13-year-old knows what an old school millstone is. A lot of adults probably don't know. So there you guys go. A millstone. How much do those weigh? I saw an old-fashioned mill one time. I don't know if it's still there, but it was in downtown Monroe, Michigan. I mean, this stone, it was thick. It was just like huge. Like they told me at the time what it weighed, but like 10,000 or more pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like just this huge mass. Just to put this into context, in the book of Matthew, it reminds us, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me, See, God's on your side. God's got your back if you believe in him. Now, as the old saying goes, God don't ask for much, but it's a lot. You know what I mean? God asks for not much, but a lot. To believe in something's a very, very powerful thing. Don't underestimate that. But if you do believe in him, he's on your side. Makes that very clear. God makes it very, very clear that there's angels. There's angels that are assigned to children. There's angels watching every child at every second. Did you know that? Literally angels watching children, watching over them, counting each and every one of them. God also knew how many hairs were on your head before you were born. Did you know that? But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone, think about how big and heavy that thing is, were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. That makes it pretty clear what God thinks, what the Heavenly Father thinks of people that harm the little ones. And look, they'll sort it out with God. I'm not condemning their soul, but I've just been so frustrated lately where they're like, oh, well, look, Pedo Pete he still gets his due process. We had to peel him off of a 9-year-old girl. It's okay. You still have to love him. Jesus loves him. Yeah, guess what? Jesus may love him, but I don't. And there is a big difference between the two, actually. A big difference. And that's why John Rich in this song says, you better give your soul to Jesus while I get my gun. I like this concept of the righteous hunter, actually. You hear people like Sean Ryan's going around. Him and John Rich and others are trying to get an army together. I heard him quote like 20,000 men they want to get together. What do you guys think about that? 20,000 men marching through the streets of this country as righteous hunters. Just taking these people right out of the equation. Now, I don't mean just going through in an orderly fashion, but no, they're literally talking about, and they're talking to Kristi Noem right now and trying to actually get like the government on board with this to have essentially an army. John Rich is talking about trying to get the funding for it. Tim Tebow's involved in this. You know, there's some people that are very, very powerful people that have lots of money, lots of influence. And I'm like, well, why isn't the Second Amendment community talking about these topics? I don't know why. Maybe you guys can answer that for me. So I'm like, well, it doesn't seem like anyone in this space really wants to talk about it too much. And maybe they do want to, and maybe they have. I don't watch everything out there. But I'm like, I think it's time I do. I want to play that song so bad. I just can't because of all the strict YouTube rules. Well, thank you, Zach. And look, I know all my viewers aren't Christians, and I'm not trying to Bible thump you tonight either. But I would hope, and I think it's a good guess. There's probably some people that aren't even Christians out there at all, but still believe in some of these principles. That do believe in good versus evil, right? Let me know what you guys think about some of this stuff. Gen Z Goy just became a channel member. Well, welcome, and thank you for becoming a YouTube channel member. I do appreciate it. I was talking about how Judaism and Christianity are not the same religion, so I'm going to assume Gen Z Goy, probably not a Jew. You know what I mean? Just by the username. Mike McClune, member for 53 months. Thank you for the channel member super chat, man. I appreciate it. He says, well, time flies by for sure. I know, dude. Ain't that the truth? I know. You guys have been listening to this channel long enough. A lot of you here where you remember me talking about my little girl. Now, she's still my little girl. She's always going to be daddy's baby girl. I still literally call her baby girl. You know, But yeah, she's a teenager now. It's like, whoa. I'll tell you what, man, I'm sitting there thinking about all this craziness that's going on. She's 13, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Can't touch anything while you're live, but I'm like, oh, yeah. We have any problems? Not going to be too much of a problem. I think this X39 will, I think that'll take care of that real fast. Real fast if anybody's coming creeping around. And that's the way it should be, man. It should be. It should be where any creep is afraid like crazy. They're afraid like crazy to come around your place or around your little ones. I think we need more of that in this country. These bad, terrible people need to be scared. They need to be afraid to mess with us and to mess with our children. I mean, is that a radical idea? Or is that, look, this is the way it used to be in this country forever. This is the way it always was. But they've been trying to change it lately. They've been trying to change it a lot, and I don't like it. Some things are good when they change, but here's the thing. I don't like certain things to change. And the crazy thing is, the more things change, the more they actually still stay the same in the end. It's still always been a battle of good versus evil. Currently is. Always will be. But for years now, we've been told toxic masculinity. You can't play football. That's too violent. Go and crochet with the girls. And now all of a sudden, I don't mean literally every woman, now you walk around and everybody's gay. And everybody's just like this wuss. And it's just like, what the heck? I can't be the only one thinking about this. And I'm offering all of you encouragement that are not those things. Gord, channel member for 51 months. Wow, that's a long time, Gord. Thank you so much for being a long-time friend of the channel, first and foremost, and for being such a long-time supporter. And he's throwing out, him and Mike are throwing out some of those 2A EDU custom emojis that the members get. We have Ron 2A Matters, channel member for 6 months. Well, thank you for the long support, Ron. I appreciate it, man. And I don't see a message there, but I do appreciate the support. Marco Polo, what's happening, Marco? How you doing, man? Member for 44 months. Wow. Daughter/family first, bad guy last, very last. Yeah, here's what it comes down to. But here's the problem, though. They're trying to change this, guys. They're trying to get rid of the ability to defend yourself. They're trying to restrict the amount of rounds you can have in your magazine. And in many places in this country, they have done that. They want to restrict. And as always, these laws only affect the law-abiding, don't they? And criminals don't follow laws. Trust me, if they're going to do some of the most reprehensible things possible to a child, do you think that person cares about the other laws? Of course not. Obviously not. It's like, oh, geez, that gun-free zone sign didn't stop the person that's committed atrocity at a school? Oh, imagine that. No, because these aren't gun-free zones. They're criminal empowerment zones. It invites the bad guy in. And you've got the other side, and I just say other side because I hate this false paradigm of it's always got to be red versus blue, and it's all Democrat versus Republican. Democrats are like way worse, trust me, but like I'm sick of all their bull crap, really. I'm not a political person at all. Don't like politics, don't like any of these parties. But the other side, the more evil they get, the more they want to cut down the good guy. And the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun, the only thing that can sometimes stop and help when your child, when your little ones, when your family are under direct threat by a predator that's preying on them is a gun. And when seconds matter, police are only minutes away. And there's certain terrible things that these people want to do to your children. And if they're in the act of it, you're not going to have a half hour to have a nice, diplomatic call with 911. You just got to stop it right then and there. And as of right now, that's still lawful in most areas that I'm aware of in this country. But it's not lawful in many places in the world. And they're trying their best to make it where you would have to stand there and just like watch it happen. No. Not only should we never stand there and watch any of this crazy predatory stuff happen to our children or any good people, but I'm kind of focusing on the little ones tonight because they're the ones we need to protect the most. That's our future. If we don't have good little ones growing up to be good adults, we're going to have no country at all left soon. And it's going to be more of a struggle every single day. Every day it's becoming a struggle. But look, if we can't protect them, then whatever. Just throw in the towel. But they want to restrict you from protecting yourself while these people keep getting worse and worse and worse. We need to get it back to the point in this country where they'd be even afraid to even consider preying on a small child. Where they'd be so darn scared knowing exactly what's going to happen. Look, the devil's always going to tempt people. There's always going to be demons. Demons are a real thing. Demons are here. Demons are a very important thing to think about. There's always going to be demons, the devil. And they always have been tempting these people. Ever since Adam and Eve, they just had to eat from the tree, didn't they? And since then, we've had to live with sin. So that's nothing new. But what is becoming more and more new in this country as these predators keep going more and more and more is they just ain't afraid of the righteous hunter anymore. In so many instances, they ain't afraid of what daddy's going to do to them if they catch them around their son or daughter. And they need to be afraid of what daddy's going to do. And that is one of the main reasons why we do have the Second Amendment. Because some people, they're just never, ever, ever going to follow laws. Period. End of story. And sometimes when they're doing terrible things, you catch them doing something or it's imminent to a little one, you just got to take care of it. And then word gets around. And they're like, oh, where'd pedo Pete go? Oh, he went over to so-and-so's house. But guess what? Daddy walked in and he ain't coming back. Oh, geez, wow. Then the next day it happens to the other one. It wouldn't take too long. Wouldn't take too long, and word gets around, even from scumballs and creeps. I hope John Rich and some of these other fellows that have got the influence, they're talking to people on the upper levels. I hope they can get this righteous hunter army together. I mean, I don't know all the particular details of it, but the way it was pitched, I'm like, that actually sounds like a pretty darn good idea. And these are all some of the main reasons why I carry a gun. N8 IWS, channel member for 54 months. Wow, look at all of you guys that have been members for like over a year. What's happening, man? How you doing, Dale? He says, I had all the boys afraid to come around my girls. You know, I mean, that's another topic. I'm like, well, if there's, you know, not yet. She's still too young, in my opinion. But, you know, what about when she's like 16, 17, and there's some nice young man that's trying to court her for a date to the homecoming dance or something? That's a whole nother story. You know, that's going to be one of those. That's where daddy's just sitting there cleaning his gun, if you know what I mean. So there is the running the boys off in general, but when it comes to these predatory types, But no, I know what you're saying, Dale. Make them afraid, and you have to deal with a little bit less. John Crump Live, member for 53 months. What's happening, Crump? How you doing, man? And he says, thank you for being a supporter for so long, dude. I appreciate it. He says, are you voting for John Crump for top 2A writer? So Crump has been nominated for the Gundy's Award for the top Second Amendment writer, and he's wondering if he has y'all's vote. I'll vote for you, John. I'm not running for anything, guys. Don't vote for me. I'm running for nothing. Yeah, I got his membership on this account. Yeah, well, there's John Crump News, John Crump Live on YouTube. And, well, you guys see 53 months. The Midwest Logger. What's happening, dude? How you doing, man? He says, don't count on the cops. Like Jeff Cooper said, in many cases, they can't even protect themselves. I mean, oh yeah. And here's the thing. Don't count on cops to protect you. I completely agree. Right, Mateo? Look, I have some friends that are cops. There's some good ones out there. If you guys just ask my real quick opinion on the police, I'm not a big fan. We're in a police state. These are the ones that are going to be coming, taking their marching orders to confiscate our guns. Are there good cops out there? Yes. But I'm not a fan of just like the police. I'd actually just rather just take care of myself, if you know what I mean. But here's the thing, though. You actually don't like have to be by yourself. You can actually have the most fanciest. Look, it's like the most up-to-date armor, and it's the most old school armor. Just think about this. An armor that's so good. It's been around actually since a lot before you were born. And it's still going to remain the best armor, you know. But hold on to AEDU. There was the ceramic plates. There was the sappy plates. There's the AR 500. There's the AR 700. And yes, here on Earth, we do need to actually like have body armor because you don't want the bad guy to get the drop on you. You do need to carry a gun, but you actually have like the most timeless, state-of-the-art armor out there. And it's always going to be like the top of the line, no matter what. And this comes from Ephesians. And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God. Now, that's some armor right there. Just remember, you're not fighting this good fight alone. I want you all to be encouraged. There's a lot of good people out there, and well, when you got God on your side, that's... you're good to go if you put on his armor. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness, and in heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand, therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. Dude, they're throwing darts at us every day. You need a good shield, and you have it right here. That's what this is talking about. And take the helmet of salvation. Now, here's where you get to fight back. Here's where you get to fight back. Now, that's a pretty good... Again, this is world-class, state-of-the-art armor we're talking about here. Now you get to fight back. And the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this, and end with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. And for me, the utterance may be given to me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that in it I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. Think about that for a minute. Everyone's like, well, what am I going to do? Everyone's afraid. Everyone's afraid to say anything. They're afraid to do anything. They're afraid some predatory, nasty human being is going to come after them and their family. It's like, dude, put on the armor of God. Also put on your real, regular, earthly, this is as real as it gets, but your tangible, you can touch armor. Put that on. Pick up the sword, which is the word of God, because that's what we're talking about over and over again, is the battle of good versus evil, aren't we? That's literally what it's talking about it right here. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness. I mean, that's what's always been going on. Pick up the sword, which is the word of God, to give you inspiration, where you do know right from wrong, where you do have encouragement. And you have an ally in the Heavenly Father. And meanwhile, while you're on earth here, pick up that gun and have it at the ready. Because it's a shame. It's a shame how many good children are taken from their families and only about 1% ever return in this country. Of all of these that are preyed on by a predator who comes in and takes these little ones, only about 1% are ever recovered. And I do believe we need more righteous hunters. And I do believe it's time for a lot more men and in this country to just man up. Because this is all around, and here's some more encouragement and just a dire warning that this stuff's around, and this comes from 1 Peter. Casting all you care upon him, for he cares for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because the adversary, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him, steadfast in faith, knowing that the same sufferings are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. So you're not the only one that's going through things. You're not the only one that has evil after you every day, tempting you every day, prowling around, trying to devour you like a roaring lion. But you and everybody else has God on your side. And I'd also like to see, while we're here trying to fight the good fight on earth, I'd like to see more good people to get together, be on each other's side. And if there is a way, and I don't know how to be the architect of it, but I do actually support having a righteous hunters, a righteous army where people can go through and just try to save some good people's lives here on earth so that they can grow up and try to make this country a better place. And send all these evil people off into the hills and the corners running and hiding. For too dang long, they're trying to make us hide from our guns. We're afraid to own a gun. Oh my gosh, what if they ban this? What if they take that? Is what everybody says every time they're trying to ban something else. And you're supposed to be afraid to be a man. It's toxic masculinity. It's this, it's that. What happened to the good old-fashioned, you better watch your mouth or you're going to be lucky to have any teeth left in your mouth? That's how things used to be in this country, right? And they still are in many places, too. Trust me. Trust me. I know some of you guys are like, dude, I know. I've seen some of my viewers before. I wouldn't want to mess with you guys, okay? I'm glad you guys are on my side. Garen Wilson, you're supposed to carry your cross and not hide behind it. Yeah. Hey, Zankoi says, I carry multiple guns. I don't need God's armor. Well, good luck to you with that. Yeah, I was just talking about this with my buddy Frank. Yeah, you're right. Blanca Howard, I'm sorry, says, I've heard some trying to normalize these sick child predators and call them minor attracted. Yeah, that's the acronym MAP, they call it. They call it minor attracted person, a MAP. Can you believe that? In one hand, they're trying to take your guns. In the other hand, they're coming up with these silly acronyms that these creeps can hide behind. No thanks. I'm not going to call them a MAP. You know what I mean? I mean, am I just super old school, guys, or what? Like, just all this stuff. It's like, really? I was talking to Mateo on the phone the other night, and there's this T-shirt. I got to just get a copy of it. And there's like a poster, but maybe you guys know what I'm talking about. It shows like the caveman, like down here. You know what I'm saying? We still see people walking around, yee, and they walk around swaying side to side. We still do see some of that around here, trust me. But they start off kind of like down, and it looks more like an ape, the primitive man, and then it shows them progressing, where they're starting to stand up tall, and then progress right there, the pinnacles here, and then it shows the same silhouette regressing back, where originally it was like they were down on all fours like a monkey, like this, just kind of, and then now it shows them like this, hunched over their computer or their phone. Do you see what I'm talking about? It shows the progress and then the regression. And man, that's just the problem right now, though. Hard times make strong men. And when there were hard times, and people were just worried about like fighting off the native savages, and when they were worried about the tyranny from the King of England and all of these things, just the day-to-day struggles just to eat, to get water that was safe to drink, just every little thing you could think about, people had to fight hard, and those were hard times, and they made strong men. And then what did strong men do? Strong men did what strong men always do. They fought for something that was good, and they won. The United States of America is born. It's supposed to be a country that's different than the other countries. With the divine providence of God, the founding fathers pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. The sweat, the toil of our forefathers to get this country up to the point where all of a sudden America becomes the new empire. Fruit aplenty. People are doing so good in this country. At a certain point, we get to the point where there's no even reason to have God in their lives anymore. And what happens? We had good times, and then it started to fall down. People start wanting to take God out of everything. They want to start breaking up the nuclear family. They pass a very, very important piece of legislation that nobody wants to talk about, changing how people could immigrate to this country. Changing it from a merit-based to where now you can just come over, but they want all these different colors. They want anything they possibly can besides a white, Christian, heritage American. All of this starts to change. Meanwhile, everybody's starting to get their first colored TV. And here's the thing with all of this. Somebody said one time, 2AE to you, you're a racist. Dude, I ain't a racist. I'll watch a colored TV, okay? So everyone had a colored TV. Everyone had a refrigerator. People thought, well, this is the epitome. Everything's going great. These are good times. And then it just keeps progressing. Everybody's got a cell phone. What used to literally take people where they would have had to drive all the way to their capital, sort through filing cabinets of archives, just to get the news on what was going on, because maybe if you lived in a small town, they might not report on every little thing in your evening newspaper. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it could take you like weeks or a month to even find out about a new bill that the Michigan House of Representatives was proposing and to try to practice. To pass. Well, we got to the point now where, kind of how I started this stream, we have people, 2A people, gun owners, whatever the hell they are, complaining to me and giving me grief because my live stream that they're watching replays of is longer than 2 minutes. Spit it out. You need to get all of this out in 2 minutes. No, you can't get all this out in 2 minutes. So we went from where it might take somebody weeks or months to be able to even find out what was in a bill, sometimes years. Sometimes they found out it was proposed, but it had already passed a year earlier. This is how it was at one time. Well, we kept progressing. Everything started becoming easier. People started getting more lazy. These were the good times. We've got it so good now that people want this magical thing where you shall report all things with the Second Amendment in a 30-second YouTube short, in a TikTok. I don't do TikTok. That's the problem they have. I don't do it, and I won't do it, right? So this is progress. These are good times. Well, guess what happens? These strong men that came from hard times, they made good times. And then good times made weak men. They were no longer out there splitting their firewood. They were no longer out there warding off the wolves and the savages from their front door. And meanwhile, while they sat back, being lazy, being complacent, living lives of luxury, gorging themselves on everything. And I don't just mean with food, I just mean with everything. That they sat there, and meanwhile, the wolves were at their door, but they got so lazy and apathetic and stupid that they didn't even notice it anymore. So that's where we find ourselves right now. We find ourselves in so many ways in bad times. Child predators. United States is the #1 consumer of it. I'm hoping that these bad times, when it comes to so much, will create strong men again, and I hope there's still enough time left. And I do hope, because I seriously do hope there's still enough time left where people can get it in gear and the strong men of this country can start getting stronger again and then try to make this country a better place. And that's my true hope. I think maybe it's possible, but my worry is it might be too late. You tell me what you think. Is it too late? But if you look through all this, it's like just this constant rolling slope where you go up and then you go back down. Up and then back down. But it seems like every time it goes down, it's almost a little lower in some aspects than it was before. But maybe it's better in other aspects, right? It just depends how you want to look at it. But I just know the more we need guns for so many reasons, the more they keep trying to ban them. And it does have to do with the breakdown of the family, Mateo. I completely agree. And it has to do with feminism, and everybody's wages are so suppressed. Just so you guys know, and I think a lot of you do know this, and I get it, a lot of your wives do have to work right now just to barely make your ends meet. But there was a time in this country where, for the most part, the man went to work, the mom stayed at home. She was the homemaker, which actually is a very, very strong position. It's actually a very, very important position. See, here's how messed up society is now. If you say, well, I think women should be homemakers, people will snap back, oh my gosh, that's the worst thing you said. It's like, yeah, whatever. Here's the problem with feminists. Feminists hate themselves, actually. Feminists are their own worst enemies, actually. Feminists, gays, I kind of sort of repeat myself when I say this. These are the problems. Because actually being a homemaker is actually like very, very important. But no, the military-industrial complex comes through. World War II is where we really saw it kick off. Rosie the Riveter comes out. This is political propaganda. We can do it too, shows this chick with like a do-rag and all this, trying to show muscles like she's a guy. Usury's a sin. The amount of lending with interest, predatory interest. Trust me, they're preying on your children. Meanwhile, others are preying on you with predatory interest rates. It gets to the point where they're like, oh, well, look, men are out trying to keep certain parts of Europe free. Who were they trying to keep free? I have no idea. Because we're fighting with the communists to take out the National Socialist German Workers' Party? So, oh, okay, the one Reich gets wiped out, but then all of a sudden we're allies and bedfellows with the communists? I mean, just think about how messed up all this is. World War II, this is the greatest generation. We go in there to fight on the side of communism? I mean, really, though? I agree with what Patton said, full stop. We should have just kept marching through and just wiped out the Reds while we were there, too. And I believe Senator Joe McCarthy of Kansas was one of the most misunderstood senators of all time, too, actually. But just think about this. So while we're over there, our young men, and they deserve all the accommodations, all the accreditations. God bless our troops. I mean all of that. But this is our greatest generation. They're over there fighting for this with the Reds, against the Reds, whoever, you know, all of these really uncanny bedfellows going on. World War II is some real sick, twisted plot, actually. Do you guys know what they did to all the Germans after World War II? Actually, have you looked at the camps they put them in? Just atrocities, atrocities, atrocities. But if you're not part of the Jewish, you're not allowed to even be talked about. Isn't that sick? If you're part of that, then we just keep talking about it. But if you're part of the Germans who got laid out in fields to die from just laying out, like just laying out in the weather, dying from exposure, starvation, like a million of them. But I digress. World War II was a real twisted, messed up thing. So was World War I. So was 1913. But back to World War II. Rosie the Riveter can do it. You can too. And they tried to, and they successfully did it. They taught many of the women, not all, but many of the women in this country that your most important role is to go work at a factory for the military industrial complex. Your boys are fighting over there, losing blood and treasure. For what? I don't know. Look, Europe wins the war. The Brits have been nothing but miserable ever since. The Germans have been miserable ever since. The French are miserable. Everybody over there is miserable. All of the men walk around with their tail tucked between their legs. They're ashamed to be German. They're ashamed to be this. I mean, it's just a wreck. They look like the biggest losers ever, even though supposedly they won. We won. But who are they, though? Who are we? I have no idea. But meanwhile, our guys are over there fighting off whoever they're fighting off. Who even knows who the good or bad guys were because it's so convoluted. We were fighting with as allies, with the Soviet Union, with Stalin. I mean, give me a break. So, and nothing against the troops that serve there. One more time, these are different things. These people, most of them just didn't know any better. They thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were fighting to keep us free, and I really do appreciate them doing that because they thought they were doing the right thing. Meanwhile, National Firearms Act had been in for 11 years. They get back from the war. There was no movement to get rid of the National Firearms Act. All of our brave men in this country have been able to fight everyone else's foreign war, but no one's ever been able to fight the righteous war in our country. I'm getting sick and tired of having to fight everybody else's war when we won't fight the war of good versus evil in our country. I care about our country right now, and that's it, because there's just too many countries, and there's too many problems here, and there's many, many fine people that live in all these countries. They're just got to take care of themselves right now. We have to take care of ourselves. So, well, our men are fighting for these other countries. I mean, they did bomb Pearl Harbor. Okay, there is an argument to be made here, but at the same time, who really won? I have no idea. Everyone ended up worse off when it was done. The women are all working now. They're getting full-time jobs. They come back, and they've now been brainwashed. The most important thing you can do is to have a job and not be a homemaker. This doubles the workforce. Maybe not quite double immediately, but it makes it go up by at least 1.5 to 1.75 factor. Overnight, influx of all these new people in the workforce. Now they can pay you less. They can loan you money because there's the GI Bill. Everybody gets a little teeny cookie cutter house with a white picket fence and a 2-car garage. It's the American dream. Now women's most important thing is in the workplace. Now you have wage reductions. It takes it where now often in many cases it takes 2 breadwinner income to be able to even pay your bills with the usury, which the Bible does talk about how sinful it is, actually. You should have seen what the Jews were doing over what they were doing in the synagogue. Jesus is flipping over tables. He's fashioning a whip out of a rope. I mean, Jesus the pacifist, he's running them out of there, overturning, fashions a whip. I mean, go look it up. But back to what I'm talking about, feminism and the problem here. And all these industrial complexes. Now we've gotten to the point where it's considered to be, oh, how could you say something so misogynistic to talk about a homemaker? It's like, excuse me? A homemaker? That's not a put down. Because here's how the actually natural order works, in my opinion. And I don't think this is just my opinion. I think it's basically provably so. And here's what's so special about like the male-female dynamic. Because I know it's like a very unhealthy dynamic now in this society. That's because feminism's killed it in so many instances. That's because the society we're in has killed it for people in so many instances. But really, when you look at the perpetuation of a species, which if you look at, life on Earth here, okay, that's the first and foremost thing, because if your species goes extinct, does a lot else matter. This applies to insects. It applies to plants. It applies to animals, people. The number one thing is you have to procreate. You have to carry on your species. And that's why the Bible says to be fruitful and multiply. With your wife, a man and a wife, they lie together, they become one. Leave the father's house, lie together, become one. This is called heterosexuality. This is the laws of nature. The nature's God. Homosexuality, you can't reproduce on that. This is taboo. This is sinful. It's all talked about in the Bible very specifically. But also, even the Bible aside, it just doesn't make sense on the order of things. So, the very most important thing is to keep your species populated, right? Well, who's the most important role? Well, it takes two. It takes a man and a woman. Men have a penis. Women have a vagina. These meet together and bond, and we produce children. That's how this works. Now, you have to explain this nowadays because none of these people even talk about this anymore. Okay? Now, you guys get it, a lot of you, but a lot of these kids don't even understand how a baby's made anymore. It's that messed up. Z, zay, zer, zem. You can just do whatever as the wind flows. They say, well, I'm gender fluid. I'm like, yeah, you're a pervert is what that means. That means you're real perverted. But anyways, I digress. So, women carry babies in their womb. They birth them. They nurture them from their bosom, their breast. Now, we do have formula and modern day things to eat now, but just look at how this works on like a primal level. You could have one woman and 10 men, and if you needed to, if that was all that was left in the world, as her first husband dies off fighting the lion, fighting the devil, fighting in war, fighting the wolves, whatever it is, he's on a hunting party and he dies. After death do them part, she could marry the next man and have a child with him. My point is, actually, women are more important to reproduction and carrying on of the human species than men are. And that's not me putting down men at all. Men have always been somewhat disposable, which is why we're stronger, why we're more suited to be the protectors, to be of the warrior class, the hunting class. That's why the man is supposed to be when the wolves are at the door, when the savages are trying to come in, and they're trying to sneak in the night to prey on the little ones, to prey on your wife. You're supposed to go out there. And you're supposed to have good strategy, tactics. That's why you should always be training with your gun, wear body armor, take the armor of God. You want all these things on your side, but you're going to try to win the fight. But if worse comes to worse, you're either going to keep these people from killing your wife and children, or you're going to die trying. That's actually how that's supposed to work. And what do us men want in return? You just want your woman to make a house a home. You want her to be beautiful. And when we say beautiful, we don't just mean looks, because all people are going to turn old and gray someday. We mean on the inside. If it's also on the outside, that's a big plus. We want her to be beautiful. We want her to be obedient. We want her to be a great mother. We want her to nurture. We don't just want to live in like a house. We want it to be a home. We want it to smell like a home when we come in from work all day, or from out there fighting, or whatever we have to do. We want her nurturing and bringing our children up. That's a very, very important role. And it's part of the hierarchy of all species. But women couldn't be happy with this. Now, no, I know not all. But women generally, they said, no, that's not enough. My best thing is for me to try to advance my career at Chase Bank. Well, if I can make assistant teller manager, then I'll be able to move up. Now, some of this are doing it because their own egos, because women have been told they're better than men. They've been told that they're the superiors. Other times, it's just because of usury and all this debt trap that everybody's in nowadays. Sometimes, like, both people just have to work full time just to barely pay the bills. But in the meantime, they've gone so feminist in so many different ways, and gay, because they're actually tied in together more than people want to think. But they've come now where they're like, no, the man is supposed to be the weak little wuss, And the woman's supposed to be the power mom. I mean, look at all these different, like, comic book movies that are coming out for years now. What do they call the character? Mary Sue? She's the toughest one ever. She can beat up 20 guys at once. They can't. This is not normal. Now they've got it to the point where transmissions can come in now and compete against women, and now they're all getting their butt kicked. They're breaking all of their records of all time. It's actually hilarious. That's that whole analogy I gave you earlier, how there's progression all the way down to regression. The feminists got what they wanted so much now. They got what they wanted so much now. Now they're getting their butts kicked by a man that's wearing lipstick and a dress. I mean, tell me how ironic this is. I think it's actually kind of funny in an ironic way. I mean, I would just laugh at it outright, except for it's so sad, actually. Now, I know I got off on this tangent about feminism because Mateo said that, but that is a big part of all of this. And again, not all women, but most women have gotten caught up in this feminism. It's just the way it is nowadays. They've tried to reverse the roles. Men are afraid of their own shadow. If you even try to act like a man, you get accused of things like toxic masculinity. You get called a misogynist. I often hear things like, well, Susie Q's the matriarch of the family. And look, I believe a woman's place in the home is very important. I just got done outlining that earlier. But the boss of everything? How far has that gotten us? Women tend to vote Democrat. And again, I don't like that it's Republican versus Democrat, but these are the main choices we have. They vote Democrat on almost a 2-to-1 rate over men. If the 19th Amendment were repealed right now, we wouldn't even be talking about these gun control bills. Now, Republicans aren't innocent. We'd still have some. But you do know we'd have like a 2/3 to even 3/4 red, if you want to talk it red versus blue. Again, I don't like that dichotomy, but just so you can all picture how the electoral map works, it'd be red everywhere except for like 2 states. They beat men down. The feminists have tried to assume some superior position. They weren't cut out for it. They're not good at it. They fail miserably at it. Now, women do have a role in the society that I just said actually is the most important role, actually. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. A good woman does deserve to be courted. And a good woman that will be a good mother to your children and a good, faithful wife, you do actually have to work hard. You have to work hard on both sides of this equation. So don't mistake what I'm saying here. Both parts of a marriage have to work together. But not where it's this woman boss, chick boss. Women can do everything men can do is what they said originally. Then it's, oh, men can't do crap. Only women can do things. Well, to do that, they've kept weakening men more and more and more. If you look at the electorate of women, again, not all, I always have to say this, not all, for all the first order thinkers that might be out there. But generally speaking, the consensus says women want to take away men's guns because they vote for candidates that promise to take guns. As we're noticing this dynamic shifting, they're coming for guns more. There's more feminism. Now we see these predators on the loose. Because guess what? And I'll conclude this topic with this. Whereas women have a very valuable role. It's a very, very important role. And that's why women are awesome. That's why we love women. Because the nurturing aspect that within the home, within the children, there's just a mother's love. There's something to it with nurturing a baby. Him suckling or her suckling on their bosom. You know, there's just things like this a guy's not going to do. We need to be out there being the protectors. We need to be out there being the hunters. We need to be the warrior class. And what's happened? They've raised a bunch of simps. See, I say the women are the worst problem, but actually the simp is probably the worst problem. Because without all these enabling simps, see, now they think that a woman's This is what a lot of people think nowadays. Now, not you, but many people out there, they think the number one role for a woman is to be on OF. It's this nasty website. And then the man's role is to be sitting in the corner, tied in the corner with a ball gag in his mouth, acting like a cuck. Yeah, but he's still supposed to somehow have this chivalry and be this knight in shining armor. And he's still supposed to work 80 hours a week. But she's making 4 times as much as he is on this pervert website because all these simps are paying her money to show her whatever. This should be between her and her husband, if you know what I mean. But no, all of this is flipped and she still wants him to pay the bills. So yeah, it's a huge, huge, huge problem. They feminized all the boys in this country. Not all. They feminized most. And that's why you just see what we see here. And that's why all the men that are left are pissed off. So there you go. There's my thoughts on all of this and how it does tie in with the Second Amendment. Gen Z Goy with another super chat. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. He says, thank you, brother. If you can see my comment below, it won't let me super chat it. Well, look, guys, there's the YouTube algorithm. I can't control that. You know, there's lots of stuff that we can't type. Stuff that I would like to say, but you can't really quite say. You know what I'm saying? And let me know what you guys think. I'm sure you have been in the chat. I'll reread it here when I get done. I'm going to read the comments. And I just want you guys to know, that's why I try to stop sometimes, because, you know, you talk in absolutes because I'm getting points across. But look, not all. There's some great, wonderful women out there. There's some really crappy feminist women out there. That's why our divorce rate is over 50% in this country. That's why most of the good guys I know nowadays seem to be single more often than not, you know. And it sucks, but there are good ones out there, and I encourage all of you, you know, if you have a good one, be thankful, be grateful. If you don't, best to you. Keep trying to find it. And I'm not saying that everybody whose wife has a job or a part-time job, I'm not saying you're a simp or a cuck or none of that. I'm just telling you this is what the status quo is nowadays. And it just gets into that where men aren't allowed to be men, women are ruling the roost. It's just all of these things, and it's just not the dynamic that it's supposed to be. And that's a problem. But yeah, dude, people are in debt. Interest rates are high. There's predatory lending. Meanwhile, these other creeps are preying on your children. Meanwhile, they're trying to take your guns. And it's just this whole like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And that's why I really like that song. And Sean Ryan's in the music video, if you guys want to listen to it. I shared it on my YouTube community post here. I guess it's just called Post. This John Rich song, talking about righteous hunters, and we just need to start going after what's bad. And I agree. And look, they might talk back sometimes. Really, it's just them testing you is what it really, really is. I'll give you guys a tip. Do you need my tips? No. But if there's anyone out there, maybe a little younger fella or whatever, wants my tips, trust me, even the best women, they're going to test you once in a while. It's just what they do. It's in their nature. But at the end of the day, they want to be with a real man. They want you to put them in their place sometimes when they're getting outside of the boundaries. And they want you to say, no, that ain't the way it works. I'm making the decisions. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, because there's certain things that you have to do. And there's certain things that women are completely awesomely excellent at. And I want to emphasize that. Women are beautiful things. They're beautiful at so many things. Just this feminism is a nasty, nasty, toxic thing. And here's the cool part about it. The good women that I know that I'm friends with, they are sick and tired of all the feminism. And I actually know quite a few women, seriously, women I hang out with that want the 19th Amendment repealed as bad as I do. I mean, I'm just saying. And maybe some of your wives listen to this and they're like, dude, like, yeah, man, like, I'll give up my vote if it means that 10 of these libtard cat moms are going to give up their votes. And look, shout out to people that own cats, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? The one that only has cats because she just hates men so much. You know what I mean when I say that. But it's like, yeah, every time I say like a cat mom, someone's like, well, hold on. I know. Women like cats. I get it. But you know, the one that has like 36 cats because she's just so mean and hates men that much. That's what I'm talking about. Uh, you guys know. Rescue Nut coming in with a super chat and a channel member. Well, thanks, man. He says, great chat. I appreciate it, dude. Dude, I didn't know if this stream was going to go over like a fart in church or like a Led Zeppelin or like whatever, but I don't know. I kind of wanted to rant a little bit because people are trying to run me off my own channel last week. You know, not a lot of people, but decent amount. And, oh, spit it out, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You guys want to know what's funny? And this is where it's kind of funny, but it's kind of sad. I was going to put out like a 6-minute video talking about the new ATF rule. But you guys can blame all those whiners because I said, you know what? After some of the nastiness that was said to me after that stream was over, I'm just like, you know what? I'm not even going to do it. So sorry, I took it out on everyone if you wanted me to do a 5 or 6 minute video, but I'm like, no, I'm just not even going to do it. But I do have some more videos that are going to be just regular old videos coming out here soon about 2 more things in Michigan, 1 section of bills that has passed the Michigan House of Representatives, so it's that much closer to becoming a law. Another one that was introduced in the Senate, and this one's like super draconian, like, whoa. Like some of the other stuff I've reported on, this one's like real bad, like real 1984 type stuff. So I'll be doing that video. And I have this that was put on a slight delay. That's still sealed right now. But I have the host for it over there. Oh, I keep my hands on screen in case someone's watching on YouTube. It's so far over there, YouTube, I couldn't touch it while I was live. Like, come on, YouTube employee or AI that's watching. When I say what this goes on is over there, we're talking like that old Dwight Yoakam song. It's like 1,000 miles from nowhere. But I do have a host for this, and I'm going to have this review out, I think, like beginning of this coming up week, if not like Wednesday. So I'll have to check into that. And then we will be able to do the O-Site recap because as far as like the hardware end of things, these are one of the main things I'm excited about lately. Like one of the coolest newer products that I really like. So look forward to that as well. And now I'm going to say good night to some of you in the chat because I like seeing you all in here. Assuming I'm still live and YouTube didn't get too mad at me. Fun to learn. See, there he goes. What's happening, dude? He says 5 or 6 minutes. He says, seems like kind of long. Can you do it in 4.5 minutes? I'll do it in 4.6 just to piss you off, man. You guys are funny. Love you guys. What's happening, Drew in Oregon? How you doing, man? Bill says, I thought that was a joke. The BB gun thing? Oh, no. No, you guys know, like, when I put this stuff out, I'm being serious. I said, will it pass Michigan right now, their house? No, probably not. Don't rule it out. We've had Republicans, including the Speaker of the House, vote for gun control. Also, this is how they do this. Democrat puts it up 2 years ago. She gets 3 or 4 co-sponsors. It dies in committee. So what's she do? She comes back, puts it up again. Now it has 20 co-sponsors. Now it gets classified as having broad Democrat support. Is she trying to push it through? Yes. Am I hearing behind the scenes on the other side? There is some movement on that bill. Will it get itself all the way there and get a House floor vote? Not necessarily. But, see, they're building their coalitions. They're building and building. So that means House gets flipped over in Michigan back to Democrat. I hope that doesn't happen. But, hey, the Republicans won't repeal any gun control. So with how disenchanted a lot of 2A voters such as myself are, they might just lose them. They might just lose the next elections because they're not doing anything. Their messaging sucks. In my opinion, they're not motivating their own base. So now imagine the Democrats get the trifecta. So they started off by floating it. They bring it back again. Now it's what's getting called broad partisan support. They'll bring it back a third time. That might be 3 strikes and it's a charm. 3 strikes and your BB gun's out. But even if they don't get it then, they'll bring it up the 4th time. You guys know how this works. They just keep going and going and going because it's just the way these people are. Right, Misfit from Zante? Right, Gort? the indestructible Richard Nixon. Look, like Richard Nixon said, I ain't no crook. And guys, I could talk to you guys for hours, man. Nobody will probably watch it or like it on replay, but I should just do a stream just talking to you guys all night. So you guys say one thing, I could go on for hours. I think Nixon was framed. I think that Nixon did some terrible things like free trade with China and other things. But I think Watergate was a complete and utter scam. And I think it was a scandal from the other side. And I think he was framed. There you go. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if anyone's still watching. I probably just got a bunch of thumbs downs for saying that. But yes, there you heard it from me. I think Watergate is not what we thought it was. I think Nixon got set up. And if you guys listen to the Nixon tape with him and Billy Graham, it's called the Nixon tapes. He was tape recording everything. There is a 12-minute portion where Billy Graham, you guys know who Billy Graham is, right? He died probably, 6-7 years ago. So Billy Graham and Nixon are talking for 12 minutes about those that are not the same religion as Christians, and they wear the tiny hat. There's lots to this, but I do think that Nixon was, I do think Nixon did some bad things, okay, with free trade on China and stuff like this. Now, I don't really know if that was Nixon either. I think just like a lot of people, how you had Bolton in the Trump administration, poisoning from within and all these different things. You know, you got to remember Henry Kissinger of the Nixon administration, not a good person. So it's kind of this weird thing with me and Nixon where like everyone says he's the worst president ever. He may have been a good president in some regards. You know, you got the whole issues with like the gold standard and stuff. So there's some stuff I don't like about him, but I do think he was framed for Watergate. And look into Henry Kissinger. And yeah, I don't know why I'm ranting about this so long. So I'm sorry, guys. Well, there's a guy with Richard Nixon in the chat, you know. Fat Gray Man says, good chat tonight. Well, thanks, man. I'm glad you liked it. What's happening, Vince? How you doing? Vince Metzger says, good night. Thanks for the great session as usual. My mags are all loaded. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. Vince is back to shooting again. He had some, we'll just say health issues, right, Vince? You weren't doing so good, but that's what real men do. They get better. They buck up. He's out there. He's training. He's fighting. This is good. I like this. I do like this. Oh, we love you too, man. Gore, yes, Nixon was very intelligent. No, I agree, actually. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? The Nixon tapes with Billy Graham? Go listen to it. Does some of you guys ever wonder about these with the, what do they call this? The tiny hat and stuff? It's a little eensy hat, big foreign policy, big policy, little hat. You know what I mean? Big policies, little hat. Listen to him and Billy Graham. Billy Graham's warning the president about some stuff. Mike McClune, Tricky Dicky. No, that's what they call him. I mean, oh, Gen Z Goy. See, you can't even make this up. Okay, I'm talking to my boy Nixon here. And then I say, well, hold on. There's Billy Graham. He's talking about the big policy. Runs most of your life in this country. The big policy, tiny hat. I'm like him, they're talking, and then you can't even make this up. Gen Z Goy's in the chat, so I think you know exactly what I mean. Random guy from Oz. What's happening, man? Nice to see you. Oh, yeah. Nixon talked about a lot of stuff. It's true. That's why I kept saying it tonight. I'm like, look, it's the feminists, it's the gays. It's an epidemic. I'm waiting to see how many thumbs downs I get on this. A lot of people in the gun community are gay. Did you know that? A lot of the gun tubers are, in my opinion. I've seen things that makes me believe that a lot of the gun tubers are actually. We should do that one time. Have a game show, and we can all take over-unders and guess on which of the gun tubers are gay. Would that be fun? Dude, you guys know I'm Gen X, right? Like, that's just how we are. Like, it's like, you know, I'm not very politically correct. Pillbox Bunker says, you are right about Nixon. I don't know if I'm right about all of it, but I know that, like, dude, the way I was raised is not, I don't think like the conventional public school knowledge. I don't mean like my parents. They were always kind of real independent thinkers, but I mean like, you go to the public school and they teach you, good morning, class. Today we're going to talk about the American Revolution. And then like eventually, like 8 years later, they're like, good morning, class. We will now talk about Watergate. Richard Nixon was a very bad man. If you question anything, you're anti-Semitic, you're racist, you're misogynistic. Now go put your balls in your wife's purse and live happily ever after. They were even starting this crap in the 90s. They really were. But how much is the gay TF gay? Well, I mean, guys, make sure your dogs are in good order. If we're talking about I mean, you know what I mean? Gosh, all the dogs they've killed. What's up, Tom? Tom Bragalone? Bragalone? All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. It's been good seeing you all tonight. See, you guys are getting my spirits up at the very end here. You're kind of like being a little sarcastic. And what's up, Harry Gremley? Nice to see you, Harry. And whoever I didn't see while we were live, I will I'll check you out. Ooh, 28EDU's checking me out. No, not gay. Not gay. I'm going to check out the chat afterwards. I mean, come on now. Only Mrs. 28EDU. Only if she's in the chat will I check her out in that way, okay? See, there we go. There we go. Here's a good-looking woman in the chat. My friend Lori. What's happening, Lori? How you doing? I'm assuming you were watching earlier. You know what I'm talking about with all this feminist BS. I know you do. Lori's based as heck. Well, thanks, Gen Z. I appreciate you, man. Gen Z Goy. Breath of fresh air. Hopefully. I'll probably get lots of hate for it, but it's all good. I will see you all again soon. And by the way, I've been out like doing tons of snow and salt and all this. I plan on it, like literally I'm planning on it. So unless something like happens, I do plan on live streaming on Locals and also their sister site that rhymes with Fumble tomorrow evening. All right. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. Haven't been over there for a while. I've been really busy, but I do want to see you guys again soon. So definitely make sure you're following me there. And I will be doing a live stream where we can touch guns and talk about guns. And I'll probably see if Mateo wants to join me too, so I can have a guest. So I'm not sure exactly what time yet, Tom, but I will try to post it ahead of time as much as I can. Make sure you're checking out 28EDU on Locals as well as on X. And I will be posting that and the site that rhymes with Fumble. And we just say that for fun, like all coded and cryptic, because YouTube can't stand that site. And they'll shadow ban you like crazy if you talk about sites that are competitors of theirs. It's just something fun we have. So it's that green site that rhymes with Fumble and Locals. And I post awesome deals on stuff. And there may be a powder shortage. And I'm going to do a video about that probably this weekend. So make sure you're checking out some of the good deals on stuff that I'm sharing over at these other sites while you still can. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And have a good one.